Alright, so here we go. Alright, so you should have this handout in front of you. This is your homework. The Missouri Compromise. And we're going to go ahead and do the student objectives. So here you go. Students will be able to list the provisions, which means demands, requirements, of the Missouri Compromise and the Compromise of 1850. Go ahead and fill that out. Alright, let's go ahead and move on. Feel free to pause anything if I'm going too fast. That's the power of YouTube. You can pause it. So here we go. So, let's go ahead and do a little review. What does nationalism mean? What does sectionalism mean? Well, here's a clue. Nationalism has to do with the nation as a whole, right? So love for your country, it's pretty much patriotism. Sectionalism has to do with a section or a region that you are going to be loyal to, right? Remember that? So, back then in the 1840s, and we're right past Manifest Destiny, do you think there was more nationalism or sectionalism? Just take a minute to think about that. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. Alright, so here we go. We're on number 1. In 1819, 11 states were slave states and 11 were free states. Which region had the slaves, the North or the South? And you guessed it, the South had the slaves because they had rich soil and could use the slaves to grow cotton, tobacco, rice, and you guessed it, indigo, which is a deep, bright blue. No, it's not purple like a lot of you want to think. So there are 11 slave states and 11 free states. If there were a vote about slavery in the Senate, which side would win? Think about it. So, if there was a vote on slavery, there would be a tie because there was a perfect balance. I'm not talking about deodorant pH balance. I'm talking about number of states, right? There were 11 states that approved slavery and there were 11 states that were against it. We're actually going to map that out. So, continuing, number 3, Missouri wanted to become a slave state. Which region would have a problem with that? The North or the South? And why? And be ready to discuss this tomorrow. So the North would oppose the idea for Missouri to become a slave state. Why? Because it would give more power to the slave states and they would win votes in the Senate. So think of this as the 12th state, the tiebreaker, right? So the North and South can't agree. What can they do? Hint, think back to the Constitutional Convention. We went over it once.